everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. After we wrapped the winter campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game last week, we're going to have an epilogue of sorts for the winter campaign as we play Eldritch Horror. In this game, we're trying to solve some number of mysteries around the Ancient One, sometimes ending up in a final showdown with the Ancient One. If Doom gets to 0, the Ancient One will usually awake, but if we get to that point in the game, we'll likely tap out, especially if the game looks unwinnable. That's for later, though. Right now, let's go meet our Ancient One. We'll go through the prelude as well, since we've got it right here. But first up, let's take a look at our Ancient One. As we were against in the winter campaign, we're playing against Rise of the Elder Things, the once dominant species. Special effects. After an investigator resolves an otherworld encounter, they may move to the Plateau of Lang, and we'll see that when we look at the sideboard this requires per setup. When 4 mysteries have been solved, investigators win the game. When Doom advances to 0, flip this sheet and resolve the A Dark God Awakens effect on the back. Eons ago, the Elder Things were driven underground by the changing climate, hibernating in the cities they had built into the mountain or in the depths of the ocean. With the disturbance of the Miskatonic expedition, they have begun to reclaim the world they once dominated. Delightful. Cultists. Here you've got a lore -1 test. No successes to not lose sanity. Strength test. 1 damage if you fail. 1 toughness to take it out. And if you pass the lore test, you free the victim's mind from the alien magic. Defeat this monster and gain 1 random ally asset from the deck. So basically the cultists are just mind-controlled allies. But anyway, we can see here, setup directions are what required us to set aside the special encounters, but also we need the Antarctica sideboard, which we'll move over and look at in a minute. Mythos deck isn't too bad. We got our rumors spread out over stages 1 and 2. And our prelude today is Ultimate Sacrifice. People thought them foolish, troubled, or mad. However, they persisted. For all their efforts, they were the first to fall before the coming threat, and they will not be the last. You must finish the work they started. The world depends on it. Before resolving step 3 of setup, choose and place investigators. Draw 2 random investigator sheets, except there was nothing random about the 2 we picked, but I'll come back to that. Place the corresponding investigator tokens on their starting spaces, respectively, as defeated investigators. Place a health token on the first investigator and a sanity on the second. Then place each defeated investigator's starting possessions and 1 random face-down artifact on the investigator sheet. After resolving setup, advance Doom by 2, which I've done all of that. So I don't think anybody will be shocked to hear that as a tie into the winter campaign, I had both Norman and Tony be our defeated investigators. And also in fitting with the winter campaign, I've taken another liberty with that prelude, and instead of one having a damage and a sanity token, and the other has sanity, they both have sanity tokens, because if you remember the end of the winter campaign, each investigator was driven insane. So just, since this is serving as an epilogue of sorts to the winter campaign, we're going to tie it in that way. So they both have sanity tokens on them. But anyway, I've talked a couple times about the Antarctica sideboard, so what say we go check that out now? Here's the Antarctica sideboard. I won't talk about each location's text until it becomes relevant. You can see we've also got a whole mess of uncharted paths out here, except for a local path from Antarctica where you can move to the Miskatonic Outpost. I keep wanting to say museum, but that's not it. So anyway, setup instructed us to set aside some specific monsters that are relevant to this sideboard, which I have done down here just off shot. I've got an Elder Thing, a Proto-Shoggoth, a Shoggoth, and a Giant Penguin. Okay, there we go. During the action phase, like I mentioned, an investigator may move from Antarctica to Miskatonic Outpost or from Miskatonic Outpost to Antarctica. So that's one way we can get over to the sideboard. The other way we can get over there, I'm just moving the reference card into an easy place to get at it. The other way we can move over there is when an investigator performs an acquire assets action, they may spend 2 successes to move to Miskatonic Outpost. So basically that would be the price of a bank loan, but anyway. That's today's adversary and setting, so let's go meet our investigators. The first member of our team today is Jacqueline Fine, the Psychic. 4 stamina, 8 sanity. As an action, you may trade any number of clues with an investigator on any space because she's the Psychic. Also because she's the Psychic, once per round, when another investigator gains a non-common condition, you may look at the back of that card and gain 1 clue. The visions are a warning. The future can sometimes be rewritten. 4 lore, 2 influence, 3 observation, 1 strength, 3 will. Then looking at her story on the back, pretend this part doesn't exist for now. She starts at space 5, which I'll point out when we actually go over to the board. At first, Jacqueline's dreams of fire and destruction seemed like a curse. Monsters run rampant through the city streets, and some greater darkness loomed on the horizon. However, she has recently learned to control her visions and observe events in detail. Yesterday, she traveled from Boston to Minneapolis and to explore an abandoned warehouse she'd seen in her dreams. Inside, she found evidence of a terrible cult that had practiced unspeakable rituals there. Jacqueline hopes to use what she's learned to prevent the terrible future that haunts her sleep. Let me just look out of curiosity. Actually, that might be... I always thought Space 5 was Chicago. That actually looks... On the geography, that actually looks like it might be Minneapolis, but it's definitely somewhere in the upper Midwest. I'm not exactly sure where, but anyway. Taking a look at her personal story next. Arbiter of Fate. Your visions see your friends thriving in one moment, only to die in the next. Death. The only certainty in life is death. After you gain a clue using your passive ability, you may spend 5 clues and discard this card to gain the Oracle reward. When Doom advances to 6 or lower, shuffle the Mythos deck, discard this card, and gain the Dark Future consequence. Anybody who plays Eldritch Horror with me on a regular basis knows I hate shuffling the Mythos deck. Especially given that it's one of the most dangerous things you can do in the game. Because as long as the Mythos deck is pre-built, you can kind of plan what's coming up. But if the deck gets shuffled, then you really have no idea what's coming, so there's no way to plan for anything. But anyway, her starting possessions are the clue that's down here, and a Flesh Ward spell. Once per round, when an investigator would lose health, you may test lore. If you pass, prevent that investigator from losing up to 2 health, then flip. So as usual, we won't be flipping anything until a game effect instructs us to. But anyway, that will do it for Jacqueline. You can probably see our second investigator in shot, so let's go meet her next. Our second investigator is Zoe Samaras. Don't mind me in shot. I'm actually shuffling the gate stack. I meant to do this earlier this morning, but I just spaced on it. Anyway, we've got 5 health and 7 sanity for Zoe, so our team is off to a pretty sane start so far. But anyway, as an action... Actually, let me bring the card up. I'll work on shuffling the gate stack later. As an action, if you have fewer than 2 task assets, gain 1 task unique asset. If you have not lost sanity during a combat encounter, roll 2 additional dice when resolving the strength test as part of that encounter. God has spoken. I will do his work without hesitation. 3 lore, 2 influence, 1 observation, 3 strength, 4 will. So Zoe will probably be our monster puncher on that. Anyway, looking at her introductory story. When Zoe was 6 years old, her parents were killed in a fire. As the flames consumed her home, God spoke to her. He told Zoe that she was special and that he was giving her a special task. As an adult, she now travels from city to city, taking work as a chef to support herself. When she isn't working, she stalks the night, guided by the Lord's voice. Wherever she finds wickedness, she strikes it down without remorse or hesitation. Most recently, God has called her to Rome to dispense his righteous fury. And then her personal story. In his name, no mission is too great for the loyal. No evil will escape the judgment of the righteous. Not on your watch. When you flip a task unique asset, place 1 Eldritch token on this card. Then, if there are 3 or more Eldritch tokens on this card, discard this card and gain the Crusade reward. At the end of the encounter phase, if there are 5 or more gates on the board, discard this card and gain the Gone Astray consequence. So we do need to keep the gates under control while Zoe works on tasks. And another thing I'll tell you, as I played Eldritch Horror, I usually don't like tasks, but I've been trying to play with Zoe a little bit more, just to kind of force myself to play with those tasks a little bit more. Then her starting possession is a Holy Cross. Gain +2 will during combat encounters. So yeah, we'll definitely want Zoe to get tooled up as a monster puncher. We'll want her to get her weapon as fast as we can. But anyway, that's it for Zoe. Let's move down to our third investigator. Our third investigator is Daisy Walker, the librarian. 5 health and 7 sanity. Take a look at her sheet, the librarian. As an action, if you're on a city space, test observation. If you pass, gain 1 tome asset from the reserve or 1 random tome asset from the deck. When you perform a rest action, you may perform 1 additional action on a ritual or tome possession you have. I know of books so powerful, they can rewrite reality. 4 lore, 3 influence, 2 observation, 1 strength, 3 will. So another one who's good at doing, who's going to be good at defeating cultists. Take a look at her intro story. Daisy worked in the library of the Miskatonic Museum, or Miskatonic University, overseen by the noted scholar Henry Armitage. She quickly became an expert on the school's collection of strange and occult texts, mastering the obscure subject matter and archaic languages. Through her studies, she came to believe that humanity was facing an impending threat. Armitage believes in her conclusions and has sent her to Istanbul to continue her investigation. It is their hope to discover some means of rescuing humanity from this inevitable doom. Yeah, that would be mildly depressing, but anyway. Take a look at her personal story. Unknown secrets. When one of the library's books goes missing, you are always the one to track it down. In this case, however, it appears that the book is not in the hands of a forgetful student, but the hands of a thief. But why would someone go to such lengths to have it? After performing a rest action, you may spend 5 clues and discard this card to gain the missing book reward. When you have only 1 health or 1 sanity, discard this card and gain the anterograde amnesia consequence. Oh joy. That does not sound like anything good. We'll take a look at Daisy's starting possessions. The Old Journal, item tome. As an action, test observation. If you pass, you discover information that may prove useful to your cause. Flip. And we've got Arcane Insight. Ritual spell. As an action, choose yourself or another investigator on any space and test lore -2. Roll 1 additional die for each tome possession you have. If you pass, that investigator gains 1 clue, then flip. So we definitely want to get tomes in a hurry for Daisy so she can use that spell to great effect. But anyway, that will do it for Daisy. Now let's go meet our last investigator. Our last investigator is the one bankrolling this whole thing. Preston Fairmont, the millionaire. 7 health and 5 sanity. As an action, you and another investigator on your space may each perform an acquire assets action and or a gather resources action. Once per round, when you gain an asset from the reserve or deck, recover 1 sanity, 7 health, 5 stamina, or 5 sanity, I did it again, 2 lore, 5 influence, 2 observation, 3 strength, 1 will. So if we can get him some stuff, we can actually make him a pretty good monster puncher. But anyway, looking at his intro story on the back. Born with a silver spoon in his mouth, Preston was doted upon by his parents, and by all accounts should have lived a prosperous life free of worry and hardship. When his father died, he inherited an unimaginable fortune, but there are some things money cannot buy. Downtrodden and depressed, Preston wasted money on gambling and women, until one night a seance performed by one of his girls brought him into contact with the spirit of his father, and shed a disturbing light on the source of the family fortune. Oh boy. Well, let's see if his personal story tells us more about that. Wealth without work. You have been fortunate, far more fortunate than most. Ever since you began to question the origin of your family's fortune, you have been thinking of ways to share your wealth with others and atone for your family's sins. After you or another investigator performs an acquire assets action, if that investigator has 8 or more assets, discard this card and gain the philanthropy reward. When you have only 1 health or 1 sanity remaining, discard this card and gain the festering greed consequence instead. Okay then. So it looks like Preston wants to just buy a lot of stuff. But anyway, as is customary in the Arkham Horror files, we do have some setup to finish, so let's move over to the board and finish that up. Before we go into finishing up setup, I'll just point out where everybody is to start the game. So Jacqueline's over here in North America, with Norman and Tony reasonably close by. So barring anything crazy, her first 2 turns might be to just go recover Norman and Tony's stuff and then plan on passing it around. Zoe's over here in Rome. Daisy and Preston are both in Istanbul. Let me just make sure I got everything. Yep, I got everything when I set everything up. But anyway. Alright, so just to check everything. I've got the reference card there. Doom is on 14, which it would have been after, which it will be after resolving setup and advancing Doom by 2, but I did that ahead of time. Omen Token is on the green comet, so that's all good. Place the top 4 cards of the asset deck face up, so I do need to flip these face up. So this is our starting reserve for the game. First up we have a 38 revolver. Item weapon. Gain +2 strength during combat encounters. We were just talking about getting a weapon for Zoe. Next up, Enchanted Blade. Ooh. Magical weapon. Gain +1 will and +3 strength during combat encounters. Oh, I forgot to go over Preston's starting possession, which is fine clothes, which will be very relevant here in a minute, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Arcane Sutra. Item tome. Gain +2 lore when resolving spell effects. You may reroll 2 dice with matching results when resolving a lore test as part of a spell. And Museum Director, oh my. When you gain this card from the deck, gain 1 artifact. Roll 1 additional die when resolving a strength test during a combat encounter. Now, I was hoping to see this come up, so I do want to explain one thing. So when a card says gain +2 a stat, if you have multiple of those, you only get the highest effect of that. So if I had like a +1 and a +4, I'd only get the +4. Whereas if anything says roll additional dice, those effects stack. So say I have 2 effects that say roll 1 additional die when resolving strength tests during combat encounters. If I have multiple of those, I can stack those. But just wanted to clarify that lightning quick. Anyway, we do need to go through Preston's starting possession, which is going to be very relevant to that reserve. Fine clothes. Each 6 you roll when performing an acquire assets action counts as 2 successes. So Preston can theoretically just rip through the reserve. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself there. So spawn the number of gates indicated on the reference card, which in this case is 1. So our first gate will be going to the heart of Africa. So basically out in the middle of nowhere to us. And then we need a monster to go with it. That's the monster we start with, and we get a Hound of Tyndalos, which has a Reckoning. The ancient one, by the way, did not have a Reckoning, so that's why I didn't talk about any Reckoning. Straight Will, you need 2 successes to not lose Sanity. Strength -1, 3 successes to not lose Health. 3 Toughness to kill it, and on a Reckoning, move this monster toward the nearest space containing an Investigator. Then an Investigator on that space immediately encounters it. So that Hound of Tyndalos will be moving around like crazy. Place the active expedition token on the heart of Africa, so that might not be a terrible idea for somebody to go do. Spawn the number of clues indicated, so we need 2 clues. There are 2 clues. Space 5 and Lake Camp. So one on top of Jacqueline, and Lake Camp is over here at the Antarctica sideboard. And then we get our first mystery. And remember, we need, against Rise of the Elder Things, we need 4. So we'll give this a quick little shuffle. It's not a great shuffle because it's only like a 7 or 8 card shuffle. And a cut, and there's our first mystery. So our first mystery, an alien ritual. The Elder Things have abducted countless humans, brainwashing them and forcing them to perform some heinous ritual for an unknown purpose. When this card enters play, place a mystery token on Lake Camp. As an encounter, an investigator on Lake Camp may attempt to free the minds of the dominated humans. A cultist monster ambushes him. If he passes the lore test, he may discard an ally asset and spend 1 clue to place an Eldritch token on this card. At the end of the Mythos phase, if there are Eldritch tokens on this card equal to the number of investigators, solve this mystery. So we need 4. Which means Preston is going to need to start ripping through the reserve so we can find ally assets. We can also use cultists coming out of the bag, but we need the mystery token on... here we go. So there's our mystery token going on Lake Camp. Alright, with that, we're all set to get into this game. So, I think our first investigator on that note... may perform and acquire assets and or gather resources. I think our first investigator will be Preston, and we'll move down to Istanbul. Preston's first action is going to be a component action, so both he and Daisy can perform acquire assets and or gather resources. So Preston is going to be up first on that. He's going to acquire a resource, which I can spend for another success. And for what I'm planning on, I'm going to need a lot of success. What I'm planning on grabbing, I'm going to need a lot of successes for. This is where I'm hoping to see at least a 6 or 2. Because remember, when I'm acquiring assets for Preston, 6s count as 2 successes. There's 1 6. Unfortunately, I needed at least another 1 to get everything I want. So that actually might still be worth it to take a bank loan, which I think I'll do. So Preston will actually take a debt condition. Now, because it says common on the card, Jacqueline actually can't look at this. So as a local action, he can test influence. If he passes, discard this card. But on a reckoning, some men have come to collect on your debts, flip. So with a pretty crappy roll, Preston is going to need to take a debt condition to get at least one of the things I really want. Given that we need allies pretty badly. So there's our debt condition. Given that we need allies badly for this mystery, and there's only 1 in the reserve, Preston's going to grab the museum director. So he'll get an artifact. Then we'll replace the reserve first, and then we'll get Preston his artifact. So replacing the reserve will be Witch Doctor for 3, another ally. Investigators on your space may recover 1 additional health or discard a cursed condition when performing a rest action. So Daisy... actually, I forgot Preston had a resource, but no, I'm not going to worry about that. So Daisy's also going to take a resource, and she'll get to do an acquire assets action as well. Unlike Preston, her 6s don't count for 2 successes. Oh! I'll just roll Daisy's acquire assets, and then we'll get Preston his artifact. I keep forgetting. Daisy gets a success as well, which will give her the 38 revolver. I'm taking this with the plan of probably handing this off, whether to Zoe or maybe even over to Preston. So replacing the reserve is an arcane assistant, another ally. Roll 1 additional die when resolving a lore test as part of a spell effect. Now, before I go any further, Preston's going to get his artifact, so he's going to find a shining trapezohedron. On an action, choose one monster on any space and roll a die. On a 5 or 6, discard that monster. On a 1 or 4, move that monster to your space. So if we need to get something out of the way, that's a potential option. So that gives Preston a total of 2 assets right now, which is not great. Then for action 2, I think Preston will just take a focus, which will be good for a reroll. But anyway, that will do it for Preston. He was number 1. Daisy, I think, will be number 2. So we do have a tome in the reserve, which means Daisy will actually perform her component action as well. Since she's in Istanbul, she'll test observation. If she passes, she gains a tome asset from the reserve or a random tome asset from the deck. That's a pass, so we'll take the Arcane Sutra for 3. So that'll go over to Daisy. She gains +2 lore when resolving spell effect, and may reroll 2 dice with matching results when resolving a lore test as part of a spell effect. Tomes are good for Daisy right now. Anyway, we need a new asset for the reserve. We find a chainsaw for 3 successes. Gain +3 strength during combat encounters, and each 6 you roll when resolving a combat test during a strength test during a combat encounter counts as 2 successes. And then what's Daisy going to do? I think Daisy is actually going to move over to over to Rome for action 2. So that'll do it for Daisy. We'll make Zoe our 3rd investigator since she's right here. Zoe will grab the 38 revolver from Daisy, which is part of why Daisy grabbed it in the first place. And then Zoe will actually move down to the pyramids. A, because I want to do the expedition encounter. And B, if we get a reckoning, I'm tipping the camera down just a bit so you can see what's going on. B, if we get a reckoning, the Hound of Tyndalos is actually closest to Zoe, so Zoe will intercept the Hound of Tyndalos and have a decent chance of being able to kill it. But anyway, that will do it for Zoe. She was our 3rd investigator. Jacqueline will be last. Looking over here in North America, Jacqueline's got 2 defeated investigators for the taking. So she'll move over to Arkham and plan on recovering Norman's stuff. And then she'll grab a focus for action 2. So there's Jacqueline's focus, a very uneventful turn there. That will do it for Jacqueline. That will do it for the action phase. Encounter phase next, and let's get over to Europe. We've got Preston, Daisy, and Zoe over here in one shot. So we'll go ahead and look into all of them. Preston's up first. He's in Istanbul. So Preston finds. You are hired to rescue people that are trapped in a part of the city that was ruined by tremors. Improve influence. Nice. So Preston goes up to a 6 on the influence, but of course there's more. Digging amid the rubble takes a toll on your body. Strength -1. Oh, strength is decent at 3, but -1 is 2. And Preston passes that as well. If you pass, you find a survivor. Gain 1 character unique asset. Nice. So I've got the character assets over here. I'll go ahead and give these a shuffle. Actually, these are the ally unique assets. So we're going to pull from the... So once I finish shuffling this up, we're going to go from the back until we hit a character. Give that a cut. Even though that's a really good ally to have, but we're going to go from the back. Professor Armitage. When you gain this card from the deck, gain 1 spell. Once per round, you may add 1 success to your test result when resolving a lore test as part of a spell effect. That will probably need to move over to Daisy as fast as... Daisy or Jacqueline as fast as we can get the spell and Armitage over to them. But, anyway, for the spell, going to my spreadsheet on my iPad. Delightful. I just saw what I got, and you'll see why in a second. I'm less than thrilled. Coming into the binder. Here we go. Alright. So we did get Forced Learning. Once I give Preston his copy of it, we'll take a look at it. So there's Forced Learning. Once per round, when you improve a skill, improve that skill again. Reckoning, test lore, and flip. Now, of course, I couldn't improve Preston. I can't do that with Preston's influence because I didn't have Forced Learning at the time I got the improvement. But anyway, that is it for Preston. We'll start a discard pile here. Daisy's in Rome, and we find neighborhood children are attacked by a Strix. You try to defend them from the strange four-legged bird. Strength. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Daisy with a whole 1 strength. This should be hilarious. Yeah, color me unsurprised. I'm not even going to pretend to be surprised at that. If you fail, you fall down some stairs while fighting. Gain a head injury condition. Good thing I brought Daisy along for her brains and not for her combat prowess. So a head injury for Daisy. Here we go. Head injury. When you perform a rest action, you cannot recover sanity. Roll 1 die. On a 4, 5, or 6, discard. Reckoning, test strength. If you fail, flip. I'll translate that for you. When Daisy fails the strength test, flip on a reckoning. Because Daisy's probably not getting past that with a strength of 1. Anyway, that's it for Daisy. Zoe's having an expedition encounter, and we'll move this in a second after we're done with the encounter. The pyramids. Bandits tie your hands and blindfold you. They lower you into the catacombs deep under the pyramids and leave you there to die. You try to free yourself from your bonds. Strength. Zoe's got a strength of 3. And I'll fail. Alright. While struggling with your bonds, you feel undead hands tearing at you, lose 1 health, and gain an internal injury condition. Jeez. You're not off to a good start at all. And gain, what is that? Internal injury. Give these a shuffle. And a cut, and there's our internal injury. When you perform a rest action, you may roll 1 die. On a 5 or 6, discard. Reckoning, test strength. If you fail, flip. And of course, there's more. You gaze into the darkness. Observation -1. This should be hilarious. Daisy had no luck with a 1-die test. Zoe technically has a 1 observation, but you always roll a minimum of 1 die in Eldritch. Which she actually passes somehow. If you pass, you identify mummies with the heads of animals. Retreat doom by 1. So, boop, we're back up to 15 doom. Anyway, that will do it for Daisy, Zoe, and Preston. Now let's move over to Jacqueline over in North America. With a slight movement of the camera, I've actually gotten everybody in shot, but never mind that now. Anyway, let's take a look at Norman's defeated investigator encounter. He was defeated by sanity, so this is the encounter. The doctor would like you to look at Norman's notes and belongings, gain all of his possessions. So we get all of Norman's possessions, which he started with a Feed the Mind, test lore -1. If you pass, choose an investigator on your space to improve 1 skill of their choice, then flip. We might want to give that to Daisy, but if you remember the prelude that we're playing with today, because Norman was one of the first investigators to bite it against the threat of the Elder Things, he also started with an artifact. So Norman had Book of the Dead, item Relic Tome. Gain +2 observation and +2 will. Whenever a monster is defeated, gain 1 clue. Oh boy. That could actually be wonderful to have, because apparently that happens no matter who does it. But anyway. So Norman went to Antarctica and found the Book of the Dead there. I always thought that was an Egyptian artifact, but whatever. Anyway. You try to convince them to move Norman to a room with the view of the night sky. Influence. Her influence is not great at 2. That's a fail, and I'm not going to bother with it. If you fail, Norman's condition grows steadily worse. Whether you pass or not, discard his investigator token. So I'm not too... This is probably the one fail this round that I'm not too terribly busted up about, but anyway. That will do it for that'll do it for Jacqueline, that'll do it for the encounter phase. You know it's that time again, folks. It's time to move back up top for the Mythos phase. We need our first card from the deck of doom, so we find. Okay, we got a green card, so we advance the omen by 1. We don't have any blue gates on the board. The Heart of Africa is red. So that means the Monster Surge spawns another gate, so we're up to 2 already, which means we find the Amazon. So the Amazon's a happening space right now because it's also got the Expedition encounter. We need a monster to go with it. We get a Jiangshi. Will -1, need 2 successes to not lose sanity. Strength -1, 2 successes to not lose health. 3 toughness to kill it. And if you lose health from the strength test, gain a Bane condition. Delightful. Okay, and then we get clues. So we get 2 more clue tokens. Because we also need clues for the mystery. Okay. Space 21 and Space 6. Space 21 out in the middle of nowhere. Space 6 right by Jacqueline, which might be a potential next stop for her. But anyway, coming back to the Mythos card. You hang your head in exhaustion and frustration. You jump suddenly when a hand rests on your shoulder. To your relief, you turn to find the local priest. Have faith, my child, he tells you. Your good works have not gone unseen. Your brave acts are making a difference. Support of the church event. The lead investigator gains a blessed condition. Cool beans. So Preston actually becomes blessed. Alright, so there's our blessed condition. 4s, 5s, and 6s count as successes on your tests. If you would gain another blessed condition, flip this card instead. If you would gain a cursed condition, discard this card instead. Reckoning, roll a die. On a 1 or 2, discard. Okay, so that's an uneventful Mythos phase and a rare helpful one at any rate. And we'll slide that in there. We'll return the sequence dice to start the round. Who will our first investigator be this round? We could send Jacqueline down. I think we'll probably send Jacqueline down to retrieve Tony. Do I want to send Zoe to kill the Hound of Tindalos? And try to deal with the gate? That's not a terrible idea. Daisy might actually want to try to... Actually, we should probably start getting clues out. Unfortunately, we don't have any tomes out. So Preston will probably be on reserve cycling detail once again. But... yeah, we'll see how the turn unfolds so I can see what I want to do. But we'll start once again with Preston, and we'll go right back up to Istanbul. For action 1, Preston's going to use the local action on his debt condition to try to get rid of it. And he's got the special dice, and he gets rid of it very easily. So we'll keep that close, though, because we might end up taking it again, depending on what this what this component action gives us. So we'll actually take another resource. And we'll do an acquire assets action. Not only are we blessed, but 6s still count as 2 successes. That was exactly 2 successes? Gross. Well, I can dump his resources in to get 4... which I think I will do. So I'll dump both of his resources in. I'll get 4 successes. Let's go with the Enchanted Blade and the Arcane Assistant, mostly because we need more allies. Alright, then we need two new assets for the reserve. So we find a 45 automatic to gain +3 strength during combat encounters for 2 successes. And a psychoanalyst for 2 successes. It's an ally. You may reroll 1 die when resolving a will test as part of a madness condition effect. When you perform a rest action, recover 1 additional sanity. Alright, so that was 1 for Preston. He has... I think it only counts... looks like it only counts... I'd say it counts unique assets as well. So 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'm not counting artifacts in that. Actually, I think Daisy will be our second investigator once again. The debt condition can go back now. I wasn't sure if I was going to take it or not. Daisy's going to... there's no tome there, so we can't use her component action. Daisy will actually test for her arcane insight, so she's rolling straight lore, essentially. So it's So the Arcane Insight is a lore -2. The +2, the 2 tomes I have cancel that out, and then she gets actually +2 on resolving a spell effect, which Arcane Insight is a spell. So we have 6 dice into this. That is 1 success, but I'll reroll 2. I'll reroll 2 dice. I'll reroll these 2 ones because the Arcane Sutra says I can. All right, so that gave me another success, and I'll give Preston the clue. We may want to start stockpiling clues so we can head down toward Lake Camp and work on the mystery. We'll give Preston the clue. There we go. And then we'll flip Arcane Insight with 2 successes. All right. 0 to 2. All knowledge of all times and places assaults your feeble mind, shredding your previous perceptions of reality. That investigator loses 2 sanity unless he has a tome possession. Preston does not have a tome, so he loses 2 sanity. Then flip. Okay. That was unfortunate. And then Daisy will actually perform a rest action, mostly so I can try to get rid of this head injury. So I re-roll a die. On a 4, 5, or 6, I discard. Is that a 4, 5, or 6? So we'll take this 5. Yes, that is a 4, 5, or 6 discard. But this will also give her an additional action for her old journal. Alright, that's a 5, so we get rid of her head injury. She clears the fog. And we'll keep that in the binder, and then we'll use her action on her old journal. So, because when we rest, we can perform an additional action on a ritual or tome. So we'll test observation on the old journal, and if we pass, we'll flip. Okay, that's a fail. So I actually don't mind not having the old journal flip on us, but anyway. That will do it for Daisy. I think Zoe will be our 3rd investigator again. So we'll tip the camera down just slightly to get to Zoe. Can't really help having the tripod in shot here. Anyway, action 1 for Zoe will be to gain a focus. Then do I want the task asset, or... Yeah, I think we'll take the task asset for now, because we're not in any danger right now of Gates being a problem, and we can get her down to the heart of Africa next turn. So, we get push it to the limit. Okay, push it to the limit. When you perform a rest action, you may push your body to its limit, strength. If you pass, place 1 Eldritch token on this card, then you may flip. Alright, so that is it for Zoe. Once more, Jacqueline will be our last investigator. Her turn will be very simple, though. Just testing here, and it looks like I will be able to get all 4 investigators in one shot, and I have not been paying attention at all to Jacqueline's passive. So one of those injuries I could have looked at, but I'm not going to rewind that now. Anyway, Jacqueline, her turn is going to be very simple. She's going to take a ship ticket, and then she's going to move down to Tony in Bogota, Colombia. So she's going to recover all of his stuff, and then hopefully she'll be able to help out with some of this stuff as well. But anyway, that will do it for Jacqueline. That'll do it for the action phase. Encounter phase, and let's move in. We can probably just leave the camera right here. We'll get everybody's encounters done. We can get everybody in shot here. We'll go to Preston first in Istanbul once again. Experts from all over the world pour into the city from the Orient Express. At the station, you look for a tutor willing to help you. Influence -1. Preston right now is at a 6, -1 is 5, and he's blessed. That is a pass. If you pass, you find the ideal teacher. Improve one skill of your choice. And because Preston has forced learning, we can actually improve that skill again. So, I think he's got a weapon, so I think I will improve his... I think I'll improve his will. And once again, like I mentioned, you get to improve that skill twice. So we'll start it off as a +1, turns into a +2. So Preston is now at 3 will. That'll do it for Preston. Daisy is still in Rome. You discover the ancient recipe to create Mithridate, a powerful concoction to protect you from harm. Interpreting it as best you can, you assemble the ingredients. Lore -1. Her lore right now is a 4, -1 is 3. That's a pass. If you pass, the Mithridate works. Gain a blessed condition. Nice. So Daisy is now blessed as well. I'll take from the back. And then shockingly enough, this is not a condition. This is not a common condition. So Jacqueline actually can look at the back of this. We'll take a look. Serenity. A mystical peace flows through your veins, charged by some unknown power, cleansing you of all that ails you. You may discard any number of conditions, then flip. Alright, so Jacqueline also gains a clue from that. Obviously, she doesn't have the 5 to spend. So there's the clue for Jacqueline. She's up to 2. And then Zoe is in the pyramids having a generic wilderness encounter. She will find... A tall figure wearing a crown of antlers stands silhouetted against the moon. It wants you to let its children enter your land. You may gain a promise of power condition. If you gain the condition, spawn 1 monster on each named city space. No thank you. Way too much potential for that to go haywire in a hurry, so we are not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Anyway, Jacqueline is having an encounter with Tony, so let's see what his sanity encounter reads. You find Tony in an abandoned building surrounded by bone chips, clumps of hair, and other grisly souvenirs. He doesn't seem to care about any of his other belongings anymore. Gain all of his possessions. So Jacqueline now also has handcuffs. Before resolving the strength test during a combat encounter, you may spend 1 focus to defeat that monster if it has toughness 2 or less. But we're more interested in the artifact that Tony had. Norman had the Book of the Dead, so let's see what Jacqueline has. Or Tony had. Dole Chance, item tome. When resolving a combat encounter, you may test lore. If you pass, you may spend 1 sanity to roll 3 additional dice when resolving the strength test during that encounter. Wow. Zoe's actually got a decent lore, so that might be something we want to pass over to her, potentially. Or somebody else who's doing decent fighty things, but anyway, there's more on Tony's encounter, of course. He's beyond all reason. All he wants to do is sell you some of his trophies. Influence. Ooh. Jacqueline's only got an influence of 2. Which is not enough to pass that. If you fail, he yells at you, warning you never to return or he'll put your hide up for sale. Whether you pass or not, discard his Investigator token. So now we can actually start into the fight proper. I was hoping to get some better artifacts, but beggars can't be choosers, right? Anyway, that will do it for Jacqueline. That'll do it for the encounter phase. Now let's move back up top for the Mythos phase. We're back up top for the Mythos phase, so now we need another card from the Deck of Doom. Let's see what we find here. Our Rumor, delightful. Alright, so we start off with clues. Space 15 and City of the Elder Things. Space 15 is down here in South Africa. City of the Elder Things is over here on the Antarctica sideboard. Then we have our Stage 1 Rumor. As the boundary between worlds weakens, you hope to commune with the powers that rule the shadowy realm where the dead reside and restore the walls between our realities. Doorways to Tuanella. Ongoing Rumor. As an encounter, an investigator on Space 14 may look for Tuanella. Observation. If he passes, he may spend clues equal to the number of investigators to solve this rumor. When there are no Eldritch tokens on this card, discard each gate on the game board and spawn 1 gate for each gate discarded this way. Each investigator on a space containing a gate gains a lost in time and space condition. Then solve this rumor. On a reckoning, randomize the gate stack. Discard 1 Eldritch token from this card. Oh, that's going to be fun when we need 3 for it. Okay. Alright, so 1, 2, 3. Alright, that will do it for the Mythos phase. So we know that that rumor is actually going to be ticking down by at least 2 before we get out of stage 1. So now I think I want to have an eye toward potentially starting to work on the mystery. Now that Preston's got a few allies and some clue, and well, at least 1 clue. But anyway, let's see, that's as an encounter, occultist ambushes. I may discard it. If he passes the lore test, may discard an ally asset. So I wonder if he would still gain the ally asset from passing the lore test. So yeah, he passes the lore test, defeats the monster, and then you gain an, I believe it's a random ally from the deck, isn't it? Yes. So we could discard the random ally conceivably, but anyway. Alright, action phase now, and I think I'm going to have Preston go later in the round. He's been going first the last 2 rounds. I want to see if I can stack him up with clues and park him down in Lake Camp for a few turns. Anyway, let's have Jacqueline go... I gotta think about this. You know, no, let's have Zoe go first. Mostly because I'm going to try to take out that Hound of Tendalos so I can try to at least get 1 gate under control. So, yeah, we'll have Zoe go first and we'll move down to the pyramids. For action 1, Zoe's going to rest. So, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to roll her sequence die for... I'll remember to put that back on 1. I'll roll her sequence die for the internal injury, and I'll use her normal test for push it to the limit. So the sequence die wants to be a 5 or a 6, and I just need to pass on the test to put an Eldritch token on and push it to the limit. Okay, so we get a pass on the push it to the limit. I'm not going to flip that yet, though. I'm going to get at least a couple more tokens on that, and Zoe still has her internal injury. And then for action 2, she'll move down to try to deal with the Hound of Tindalos this turn. That'll do it for Zoe. Now let's get up to Jacqueline, who's over in Bogota, Colombia. Action 1, Jacqueline's going to trade her 2 clues over to Preston via being a psychic. Then action 2, she will try to, with an influence of 2. Let's get her a ship ticket. I'm deciding what I want to do. Actually, no, I think I am going to test influence to try to acquire some assets with an influence of 2. This isn't going to be great, but if I can maybe get her a decent weapon, I'll feel better about sending her after that Jiangxi to try to keep the gates somewhat under control. All right, we got 1 success. That's actually what I was hoping for. So Jacqueline will take the debt condition. I'm not even gonna pretend to hesitate on that. Well, so we can grab the chainsaw for 3 successes. +3 strength during combat encounters, and each 6 you roll when resolving a strength test counts as 2 successes. I may have to pass that off to a better monster puncher, but anyway. As much as anything, it's to keep the reserve moving as well. So we'll replace that with more hired muscle, +1 strength, and you may re-roll 1 die when resolving a strength test. So that'll go into the reserve. That'll do it for Jacqueline. Our 3rd investigator will be Daisy, and we'll move over to Europe. For now, we have everybody in shot. We won't by the time Preston's turn is over, though. So for action 1, Daisy, who's also rolling blessed dice, will test her arcane insight. So she gets lore -2, +2 dice for tome assets. So she's got 2, so 4 plus the tome, or plus the +2 on the arcane ancient sutra is 6. And I think we need 3 successes for Preston's sanity to not get ripped apart. That should be 3 successes. That's 3 successes. So I think... So Preston will get the clue. And sure enough, we need 3 successes to not have a sanity ripped apart. So Preston will get another clue. Right. There's the clue for Preston, as it doesn't want to hold. So now we have 4 clues. We just need to get Preston... We need to get Preston some more allies is what we need to do. And then Daisy will... gain a focus, I think. Actually, an even better plan could have been sending somebody with better lore down to try to deal with that. But anyway, too late to worry about that now. Plus, he's got all of our allies anyway. Well, most of them. So speaking of Preston, he'll be last this round. He's going to use his component action when you gain an asset from the reserve. Okay, so he's going to use his component action to gain a resource and perform an acquire assets action. So we'll just keep these 6 dice. Hopefully we can just, like I said, hopefully we can just rip through the reserve. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 successes. Remember, the 6 is count for 2 with Preston. I could go up to 7, which... Actually, I could get up to 9 successes here, which would just completely clear the reserve. Not only would it clear the reserve, it would actually clear Preston's personal story, which... Actually, I'm going to need 2 of those successes to get down to the... get down to Lake Camp, but it still might be worth it, actually. Yeah, I think we'll go up to 9 successes. So that was 4. Actually, no, we can only get up to... I can't math today. We can only get up to 7 successes, so never mind. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, let me math that again. So spending the resource... Actually, let's spend the focus first. See if we can change the math here at all. We cannot. So we're still looking at 7 successes max. So I don't think I'm going to take the debt condition, though. I think I have enough. I should have enough allies potentially to pull this off. Especially if I count that I gain the ally first. I pass the lore test to defeat the monster to gain an ally. So I'm going to rule it that I gain the ally first and then I discard. Then I can discard. So with a total of 4, 5 successes. Actually no, I only need 4 successes for this. So I'll take the hired muscle for 2 successes, and then I'll spend the other 2 to move Preston over to Lake Camp. We're going to be relying heavily on rerolls here. We'll see how this works out. But anyway, we need an asset to replace the one in the reserve that Preston picked up, so replacing the hired muscle will be a hitman for 3. When you gain this card from the deck or reserve, gain 1 random weapon asset from the deck. Roll 1 additional die when resolving a strength test during a combat encounter. And Preston should have gained a sanity when he gained the hired muscle, so that's all handled there. That will do it for Preston. That will do it for the action phase. Encounter phase next, and let's move down to Zoe, who's got to fight with a hound. Getting ready to fight this Hound of Tindalos. Straight will test, and we need 2 successes to not lose sanity. Zoe's got a will of 4, plus 2 for the Holy Cross is 6. And we have to remember that if we don't lose sanity, we do get to roll 2 additional dice during the strength test. Which we have 3 successes in there, so we don't lose sanity, which means we're at strength minus 1. So 3, 5, 7 minus 1 is 6. And we need 3 successes to take this thing out. We do have a focus. Which will be needed. And still come up short. So, yeah, we got nothing here. So Zoe takes a damage, but the monster takes 2. So we'll put that there, put Zoe down to 4. And then Zoe's actually done for her encounter, so let's move over to Jacqueline in Columbia. Jacqueline's having a generic city encounter. She finds... The police ask for your help investigating a series of ritual killings. The grisly crime scene threatens to overwhelm you with chills and nausea. Will. Her will is 5 thanks to having the Book of the Dead. That's a pass. If you pass, you manage to examine the scene and find significant information. Spawn 1 clue. Okay. Space. It looks like space 9. Let's just make sure that's... Okay, yeah, that's right side up, so space 9. That goes up here in Greenland. Anyway, that will do it for Jacqueline. Now let's move over to Daisy, who's still in Rome. I'm being terrible about remembering when I can get all these investigators in one shot today, but anyway, Daisy's in Rome. The monster statues in the Bosco dei Mostri are whispering. You try to speak to the overgrown sculptures. Influence. Daisy's influence is not terrible at 3, but she is blessed. I was panicking looking at Jacqueline. I'm like, I thought Daisy was blessed, but no, Daisy is blessed. Which she needed to be. Well, actually, she didn't need to be. If you pass, they foretell good fortune, improve will. Very nicely done there, Daisy. So we'll get a will token out for her, which means she'll go up to a will of 4. Then we'll move down to Preston over in Lake Camp. Preston's going to get ambushed by the cultist as part of the mystery. So this is a lore -1 test. He has to pass the lore test. Yeah. So we need this to be a success. Fortunately, he is blessed. A 1 won't help him, so that'll do it for his encounter. He won't lose sanity. We do have straight strength. He's going to obliterate this cultist, I'm sure. 3, 6, and a reroll. Okay, straight strength. So he needs 1 success to not lose stamina. Oop, what the? Oh, yeah, he obliterated that. I mixed up the dice I was rolling. Derp. But anyway. So Preston defeats the cultist because why not? He actually had to test it for the lore effect after the strength test. But anyway, that will do it for Preston. That'll do it for the encounter phase. Let's move back up top for the Mythos phase. Time for our first reckoning from the Mythos deck. Oh, I forgot. This is actually a... Okay, so now we've got reckonings coming up. Never mind, derp. Alright, so... Oh, this is going to be a problem. Okay, so we advance the Omen. So we advance the Omen, which advances Doom by 2. I was expecting this to be a reckoning, but I forgot there are more cards in the Elder Thing deck. So now we get a Monster Surge. Oh, this is bad. So we've got 2 monsters going each to the Amazon and to the Heart of Africa. Zoe, unless these are weak monsters, Zoe is not staying. But anyway, we're going to the Amazon first. We find... We have 2 monsters there. Child of the Goat. No will test, straight strength, need 2 successes to not lose health, 1 toughness to kill it, magical resistance, reckoning roll 1 die, on a 1 or 2 advance Doom by 1, and a Shan. Will -1, 2 successes to not lose sanity, straight strength, 1 success to not lose health, 2 toughness to kill it, physical resistance, and if you lose sanity from the will test, advance Doom by 1 unless you spend a clue, and on a reckoning, discard the nearest clue. Moving to the Heart of Africa. Okay, we've got Amigo. Straight will, need 1 success to not lose sanity. Strength -2, 2 successes to not lose health. 3 toughness to kill it. On a reckoning, discard the nearest clue and move this monster to that space. If you defeat this monster during a combat encounter, gain an artifact. And a werewolf. Also got a reckoning. Straight will, 1 success to not lose sanity. Straight strength, 2 successes to not lose health. 2 toughness to kill it. Physical resistance. Reckoning, move this monster 1 space toward the nearest investigator. Then each investigator on this space loses 1 health. Zoe actually might stay there this turn, and then spawn clues. Arkham and Space 1. So Arkham, Space 1. Thankfully, nobody fails their personal story for clues. But anyway. Looking in the mirror, you see what this quest has cost you. These terrors and struggles have aged you unnaturally. Your body is not as strong as it once was. Your mind is not as strong as it once was. Your mind is not quite as quick as it used to be. Time catches up, ongoing. When this card enters play, each investigator impairs 1 skill of his choice. Reckoning, the lead investigator impairs 3 skills of his choice, then discard. Delightful. So we need impairments. Let's see, each of us impairs 1. Zoe is going to impair her influence. There's a -1 influence for Zoe. Preston will impair his observation. He was never that good at it to begin with. As will Daisy, and Jacqueline will impair her influence. Alright, so observation for Daisy, influence for Jacqueline. Okay, so our lead investigator next turn is going to impair 3 skills of their choice. Because now that I realize how the deck actually worked, now our next card is a Reckoning. So I think our first investigator, who can take it right now? I want Daisy to go before Preston. Even though Preston probably could handle impairing 3 skills right now. Actually, Daisy can probably take it too, and I wanted Daisy to go before Preston anyway. So Daisy will be our first investigator, and we'll move up to Istanbul. Getting Daisy down to down to Miskatonic Outpost right now might be a very worthwhile thing to do. It's going to be very worthwhile to do. In fact, I may end up taking a debt condition to get Daisy down there, but let's see what happens here. Yeah. So, about that debt condition, Daisy's going to take it so we can move over to Miskatonic Outpost, and we'll join Daisy over there. Annoyingly, I did space that it's all uncharted paths out here except for the local path to Antarctica, so Action 2 will move Daisy over to Lake Camp. Preston will be our second investigator, who will give Daisy the stack of clues and most of his allies, actually. Let's see. So Daisy picked up all of Preston's allies. And then for Action 2, Preston will... I think he'll acquire assets. Because he can from Lake Camp, because it says on here, investigators on this space may perform the acquire assets action. And we get a total of 2 successes, which will be good enough to give Preston the 45 automatic, and he'll recover sanity from grabbing that. We can potentially pass that off to somebody else, but anyway. Coming out of the deck we find a police raid. When you gain this card, immediately choose a space. Each monster on the chosen space loses 3 health, then discard. Well, I can think of a few spaces I wouldn't mind using that on, but anyway, that will do it for Preston. Zoe will be our third player, so let's move up to the Heart of Africa. Zoe will grab another focus and another task asset, so she will find Purifying the World. Purifying the World. When you defeat a non-epic monster during a combat encounter, place that monster on this card, then you may flip. Okay, so that will do it for Zoe. Our last investigator will be Jacqueline, so let's move down to Columbia. We need to get Jacqueline moving this turn. The only problem is I don't know where I want to send her at this point. Daisy and Preston are going to work on the mystery. I could send Jacqueline into the... I could try sending her into that mess in the Amazon, but she's not well suited to take on monsters at all. 2, 1, and a 3. I mean, she does have 5 will, but she only has a strength of 4 thanks to the chainsaw. But 6s she rolls count as 2 successes. And actually we do have the dole chance, so we probably could work with that actually. So I think Jacqueline will take a focus. And then she will move into the Amazon. So this is probably not the brightest idea I've ever had, but we'll give it a shot anyway. So that will do it for Jacqueline. That'll do it for the action phase. Encounter phase next, and let's move over to Daisy at Lake Camp. Daisy will get ambushed by a cultist as part of the mystery, so she's rolling lore -1. So 3 blessed dice for Daisy. That's a pass, so she will defeat the cultist. We'll get the ally first. We'll just take the first ally we find. There we go. Give this a quick shuffle. And a cut. And we'll find the bodyguard, but he's not going to stay, so we'll discard this and one of Daisy's clues, right? Discard an ally asset and spend a clue to put an Eldritch token up on the mystery. So that's our first of 4 that we need. Then Preston is going to have a location encounter with Lake Camp. So he will find... A man enters the camp having been guided around the world by visions. You discuss the true meaning of his dreams, lore. His lore is 2, but Preston is also still blessed. Passes with flying colors. If you pass, gain 1 Antarctic Guide unique asset. Alright, we will go into the Allied deck. Find an Antarctic Guide unique asset. Say that 5 times fast. Here we go. He looks familiar. We'll come back on camera to give this a shuffle. And a cut. The Antarctic Guide, who uses the same art as Alaya and Anu. Once per round, if you are on a space on the Antarctica sideboard, you may reroll 1 die when resolving a test, except when resolving an otherworld encounter. Alright, so that will go into Preston's stack. And that will do it for Preston. Zoe's got some fighting to do in the heart of Africa. Zoe can fight these in any order, so she's actually going to start with the Migo, which doesn't want to focus apparently today. Alright, straight will need 1 success to not lose sanity. She's not blessed, unfortunately, so her will is 4 plus 2 is 6. Alright, 2 successes in there, so Zoe doesn't lose sanity, which means she rolls 2 additional dice. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus the 2 would be 7, but she can't, but the minus 2 cancels that out, so Zoe gets these 5 dice. As dice go flying, there we go. And we need 3 successes to take this Migo out. One. I don't think we can even... There's no point to even spending the focus, so Zoe actually takes a damage, and so does the Migo. The Migo only takes 1. That did not work how I wanted it to. Then we'll come back to the Hound of Tyndalos. So once again, straight will. So 6 dice for that. We need 2 successes to not lose sanity here. Which Zoe does not get. She loses 2 sanity, so 3, 5, minus 1 is 4, and we need 3 successes to take this out. Come on, Zoe. Now is not the time to lay an egg, not with Jacqueline looking at a mess. Really, Zoe? We're going to pick now to start laying an egg. It's dead, but Zoe takes 2 damage, leaving her at 1. She's going to have to Gitfo and rest next round, most likely. So that goes over to her trophy. And then the werewolf. Straight will. So that's 4, 6 for the cross. So 4, total is 6 for the cross. Alright, 2 successes, so she's good there. It's got physical resistance, so we only get 1 extra die. There's a 3, 4, 6. We need 2 successes to not lose health. No successes gets Zoe taken out by damage, which would not be good. We'll spend the focus because Zoe's only on 1 health right now, so this is very bad. Alright, she'll defeat it, but the monster will take her out with it. So we'll put that there. Then Zoe's defeated by damage, so she'll move to the nearest city space. Get a damage marker. Doom will advance by 1. That was not a good time for that to happen, Zoe. But Jacqueline will actually... I almost forgot. Jacqueline does get 2 clues for Zoe biting it. So there are the 2 clues for Jacqueline. And so that brings her up to 2. Then speaking of Jacqueline, we need to move over to the Amazon. This will probably prove to have been an absolutely terrible idea, but we'll find out. So the child of the goat will be up first. Alright, no will test, but we have straight strength. So Jacqueline will actually roll for her dole chance. We need to bring the dice tower into shot. So we'll test lore. If she passes, she may spend 1 sanity to roll 3 additional dice. Come on. There we go. Okay. I think I got 1 monster blocked off by the dice tower, but anyway. No passes in there. Not good. Yeah, I was kind of leaning on that, but I'll toss a focus for a reroll. Nope, I'll keep it then. So straight strength is 4 dice because we're using the chainsaw. 6 is actually... Why did I do that? No, we'll be fine. We'll just reroll. We'll just roll this. 6s count as 2 successes. Wow, Jacqueline. Okay, I cannot afford to take 2 damage right off the bat, so I'm, of course, taking 2 damage right off the bat. Wonderful. Delightful. So we did exactly nothing to the child of the goat. That's wonderful. Then we'll start off with the Shan. Will -1. 5 -1 is 4. I'm going to try different dice. These have been doing a horrendous job for me today. Those ones aren't doing much better. So Jacqueline also loses 2 sanity. Then we'll try again with the dole chance. We needed more here than we did for the child of the goat. Wow. Okay, yeah, this was a really bad idea. Straight strength. Different dice, please. Okay, there we go. So the Shan is defeated because we got 2 6s in there. So the Shan is actually we should have only had 3 dice. But even if I take one of these 6s away, the Shan is still defeated. Give that a good shake up. Jacqueline will get another clue. Alright, there's our clue. And now Jacqueline has the Jiangshi left. Will -1. Oh, this is bad. 5 -1 is still 4. We need 2 successes to not lose sanity. Wow, we're off to a rockin' start. Try again with the Dole chance. Okay, that actually worked. So we will spend the sanity to roll 3 additional dice. So 4, 7 -1 is 6. And 6s still count as 2 successes. And here I probably will have to burn clues so Jacqueline doesn't just bite it. Never mind. We managed to obliterate the Jiangshi with the chainsaw. But Jacqueline doesn't get to have another encounter because the... what is that? The child of the goat is still there. But anyway, that'll do it for Jacqueline. That'll do it for the encounter phase. Let's move back up top for the Mythos phase. We have the dice tower in shot because I'm sure this next card is going to be a reckoning, now that I'm actually paying attention to how the deck's built. Sure enough. Okay, so advance the Omen. We don't have any blue gates on the board. Both of them are red and still untouchable. Reckoning. The Migo moves to space 15 with Zoe and discards the clue. The child of the goat rolls a die on a 1 or a 2 advance doom by 1. So we're down to 11 doom now. Okay, let's see. So that was monsters. Ancient One didn't have a reckoning. Mythos cards. Randomize the gate stack. Discard 1 Eldritch token from the rumor. And then the lead investigator, who will end up being, who is Daisy, will impair 3 skills of her choice. Lore would be a terrible one to impair right now, but... will and influence twice? That could work. I think that's how we'll do it. I think we'll go will and influence twice. So Daisy is going down to a 1 influence. As long as she sticks with Preston, that shouldn't be a big problem. Then this gets discarded. Let's see, possessions and conditions. Daisy has her blessed to roll for. Let's not have another 1 or a 2, please. So, of course, we get a 1 or a 2, which means Daisy's no longer blessed. Then her debt flips. Dark Extraction. Part of your essence, that was the deal, and failure to live up to your end of the bargain will cost you and the world more than you bargained for. Resolve the reckoning effect of each Rumor Mythos card in play unless you discard one talent condition. Oh, fantastic. So we don't have a talent condition, which means we randomize the gate stack again and then discard one Eldritch token. Wonderful. This is going great, kids. Jacqueline hanging on by a thread, Zoe defeated, and now we're already potentially dealing with lost in time and space conditions. Fantastic. Let's see, the deck gets discarded. Preston has his own blessing to roll for. I'm not rolling that die again. I'm rolling this one. That's a 5. Preston keeps his blessing. Jacqueline... Actually, Preston's got forced learning. He's got to test lore for that. And flip. Flip with 1 success. Containing the magic requires constant focus and devotion. Lose 1 sanity. So that brings him down to 4. Let's see, Jacqueline also has a debt condition that she's got to flip. Someone was asking about you. Local authorities. Someone was asking about you, says a fellow traveler. They said you owe quite a bit of money. Naturally, I said that I didn't know anything, but you may want to find your way to a new town soon. You attempt to hide from the police. Observation. Her observation is actually decent at 3. There's a pass. Then discard this card. Okay, so we got away with one there. Let's see, then a blessed. Okay, so I think we're all clear there. So we get a new gate. So new gate is going to Sydney, another red gate, and then we need a monster to go with it. Good thing it's mostly red gates. And we get a hunting Bayaki. It's got spawn instructions. Will -1, need 2 successes to not lose sanity. Strength -2, 1 success to not lose health. 2 toughness to kill it. When this monster is spawned, move it to the nearest space containing an investigator. Then an investigator on this space becomes delayed. So we're moving it to Lake Camp, to the nearest space containing an investigator. So yeah, it'll be Lake Camp by a country mile. And I actually need to get my special delay tokens out, which are on the other side of the closet. Because they're actually... This token that I'm actually grabbing out is actually for Arkham Horror, the card game, but it works really well with but they work really well. From LCG tokens, you see I use these all the time for exhausting assets in the card game. They actually work really well in Eldritch as well when I'm exhausting everything. Who do I want to exhaust? I think I'll exhaust... somebody's going to need to deal with that. I think we'll exhaust Daisy. And I'll have Preston go before Daisy so he can try to deal with that hunting Bayaki. Anyway, that will do it for that. Alright, back to the event. Every spare hour you have while traveling in a train car or hiding in the hold of a ship is time that you spend practicing. Your drive to become a better version of yourself is a seething compulsion. Your ceaseless work is beginning to show results. Rigorous training, event. Each investigator may gain a focus, spend a focus to gain a clue, or spend a clue to gain a talent condition. I think we'll just gain focus all around. Because we need the clues too badly. And most of the talents right now probably aren't terribly good. But anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Before we jump into the investigation phase, we need a new investigator to replace poor Zoe. Here's our newest investigator. Once I remember to get his token out, I'll do that later. Monterey Jack, the archaeologist. 7 health, 5 sanity. As an action, you may discard an artifact to retreat doomed by 1, or discard the top card of the expedition encounter deck and perform 1 additional action. After resolving an expedition encounter, gain 1 relic unique asset. To find a treasure like that, I'll risk a few poison darts. 2's on lore, influence, and will. 3 observation, 4 strength. He starts off with a treasure map. When you gain this card from the deck, place 1 random clue face up on this card. After resolving a location or expedition encounter on that space, flip. So let's get the clue out for that. He wants to go to Buenos Aires. All right, then. And he starts off with a bullwhip. Item weapon. Gain +1 strength during combat encounters. You may reroll up to 1 die when resolving a strength test during a combat encounter. Okay, so we'll reset that. And we'll look at his intro story on the back. Young Jack traveled the world with his father's archaeological expeditions. He acquired the nickname Monterey after a bout of quinine-induced jaundice turned his skin yellow. Once grown, Jack became an accomplished archaeologist in his own right. Now he must explore his own past. His father was found murdered with an arcane sigil carved into the old man's forehead. Here in Cairo, he has seen men wearing the sigil on pendants around their neck. It is time for Jack to start digging. And he starts in the pyramids. So I'll grab his token out now that I'm thinking about it. There you are. In the pyramids. So I think with that, he will actually be our first player. So let's move down to the pyramids. Given that our safest spaces right now are probably spaces that currently have gates on them with the rumor about to go off, I might move Monty down to the heart of Africa, but let's see what happens when I use his action first to discard the top card of the expedition deck. It's actually moving to the heart of Africa, so that works out very nicely. And then Monty will move down, actually he'll move down there with his from his component action. Then for his second action, he'll perform a focus. So that will do it for Monty. He'll get the 1. Our second player, I think, will be... Our second player is going to be Jacqueline, so let's move over to the Amazon. Jacqueline is going to nope out of the Amazon down to Buenos Aires, and then she's going to rest. That's most of why I needed her to nope out of there. So anyway, that will do it for Jacqueline. Let's move over to Preston and Daisy, who are over at Lake Camp. Preston's going to take his second focus and resource both for his 2 actions. And then Daisy's night-night time is over. She just becomes undelayed. That's all she can do there. That will do it for the action phase. Encounter phase next, and let's go down to Monty in the heart of Africa. Monty's having an expedition encounter. The heart of Africa. Cutting your way through the jungle, you stumble upon a narrow tunnel beneath a towering carving of Cthulhu. The sculpture terrifies you, and you have a hard time making yourself continue. Will. Oh, his will isn't great at 2, but let's see what happens here. He passes with flying colors. Nicely done, Monty. The tunnel leads to a valley adorned with shrines to the great old ones. Gain 1 clue. Cool beans. Alright, there's our clue. But of course, say it with me, kids, there's more. These altars are protected by zombies. Strength. Oh, we're fortunate his strength is good. He's good at strength tests. Not there, apparently. We'll spend the focus and get there. If you pass, you study the shrines. Advance the active mystery by 1. Monty, that was very sorely needed. So, we need 2 Eldritch tokens. We need 1 for the mystery, 1 for Monty's personal story. The expedition is moving to Tunguska, and Monty gets a relic unique asset. So we'll just go from the back until we find one. There we go. Pharaonic Mask. You may perform the action abilities of other investigators on the game board. On a reckoning, you hear the whispers of pharaohs from the past flip. Okay, that's actually potentially very useful. Let's see, is there anything else? Okay, the artifact, or the expedition moved to Tunguska. Focus is gone. Okay, so Monty's all done. Let's go to Jacqueline next in Buenos Aires. Let's see what we can do with Jacqueline in Buenos Aires. The subway car stops, and you hear the sound of hissing voices in the dark. Observation -1. Her observation isn't completely garbage at 3. -1 brings her down to 2. We'll spend the focus and pass. If you pass, you discern the phrases being whispered. Gain 1 ritual spell. Alright, that brings me over to... Where's my spell selector? Here we go. Ritual, we get Feed the Mind, except Jacqueline's already got a Feed the Mind. Ritual, come on. Arcane Insight, that'll work. Let's see, Ritual. Arcane Insight. So it'll be the same spell Daisy has, but it's got a different effect on it. So anyway, I'll stack that there. That will do it for Jacqueline. Now let's move over to Antarctica, where Preston and Daisy have a Byakhee to deal with. We need to start off by dealing with the Byakhee with Preston. So that is a Will -1 test. Preston right now has 3 plus 1 from the Enchanted Blade is 4. What do you say? -1, so that's 3, and he's still blessed. Daisy lost hers. Alright, passes with flying colors. And then strength -2. So 3. 6 -2 is 4. I'll probably use the reroll from the Antarctic Guide here, because I need 2 successes to take it out. Oop, once again, I mixed dice, but it doesn't matter because Preston actually takes out the hunting Bayaki with 3 successes because remember he's blessed. And then Preston, what did we say? 1, 2. I'm going to move the dice tower for a second so I can count my clues on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why did I think I had more on the board? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I do have more on the board. So Preston's actually going to encounter the clue. Alright, Antarctica. Where's the lake camp? Here we go. Alright, you see 2 elder things carry a member of your party toward a particular part of the mountains. Gain this clue. Okay, so that's very helpful. You're attacked while you're distracted. An Elder Thing monster ambushes you. If you defeat it, gain 1 additional clue. Oh boy. Alright, so we've got our Elder Thing here. Straight Will, need 3 successes to not lose sanity. Oh, fun. Alright, that's Straight Will. So he's at a 3 plus 1 from his blade is 4. So 3 successes to not lose sanity. Alright, so Preston only loses 1 sanity. That wasn't terrible. And then strength minus 1. So 3, 6 minus 1 is 5. And I'll probably use the reroll here to try to take this thing out. Oh, boy. Okay, reroll from the guide. If this turns into a success, then I'll think about spending the foci. Nope. Preston takes 2 damage. I really wish that didn't happen, but nothing I can do about it now. So, we did get the clue off the board, though. That was the important thing. So, Monty isn't in as much peril as he is, or as he had been with his personal story. So that goes back. Then Daisy is also going to get ambushed by a cultist for the mystery. So, lore minus 1, so she's rolling 3 dice. She'll probably ditch the hired muscle to this. She'll spend the focus. Spend the other focus. And pass. Alright, so we'll spend a clue and the hired muscle to put another Eldritch token on the mystery. Thanks to Monty, we only need 1 more, but we're hopefully going to have to duck at least 1 problematic Mythos card, which we know we've got a Reckoning coming up, so we know the rumor is going off this turn. So I'll also need that in shot. So, without any further ado, what say we move back up top and see how the rumor is going off. Dice Tower is in shot because I'm almost certain this is a Reckoning. Sure enough, it is. So the Omen moves up to green. Then we get Reckoning. Monsters. The Migo will swallow... What's the nearest clue? Probably space 21. Let me bring the Dice Tower out of shot for a second. Yes. The nearest clue is space 21. So actually that helps me out. Because that means... That basically frees Monty to go have an encounter with Zoe this turn. Try to get her stuff, which won't be a terrible idea. Okay, so... I think that was the only other monster. No. We still have the Child of the Goat on board, so when we roll a die and a 1 or 2 advance doom by 1. Of course, that's another 1. Right. Okay, so monsters are done. Ancient One doesn't have a Reckoning. Mythos card, this rumor's going off. So we first randomize the gate stack. Okay. We'll shuffle that. Okay, so that's all shuffled. Okay, so now we have to spawn. I'm going to move that out of the way for a second. So now we discard each gate on the board and replace and respawn it. So we'll start out by replacing the Heart of Africa. We'll replace that with San Francisco, which will get a fresh monster with it as well. With a cultist, so really no harm, no foul there. Then we'll replace Sydney with Tunguska, which is... I looked at the card, at the event card, and Tunguska is about to turn into an ungodly mess. And I'm throwing monsters around. Servitor of the Outer Gods. Will -1, 3 successes to not lose sanity. Straight strength, star successes to not lose health. 3 toughness to kill it. And damages equal to the number of gates on the game board that correspond to the current omen, which right now is 2, but we haven't replaced the Amazon yet. We'll replace that with London. And we need a fresh monster there. Yep. We find a witch. Will -1, no successes to not lose sanity. Strength -1, 1 success to not lose health, 1 toughness to kill it, and if you fail the will test, gain a cursed condition. Reckoning each investigator with a cursed condition loses 1 health. That's going to London. Let's see, that was Mythos cards, so that rumor's done. Possessions and conditions. So Monty has the Pharaonic Mask that he'll flip, that he has to flip. The pharaohs speak to you in ancient and alien languages. You attempt to record what you hear to translate later. Lore -1. So Monty's lore right now is a 2. So this is a 1. This is another 1 lore test. Monty, you've spent a lot of time with Jenny on Saturday group games. Let's see if some of that 1 lore magic has passed over to you. It has not, of course not. If you fail, the words are incomprehensible. Lose 1 sanity unless you discard this card, then flip. This thing is too good. I'm gonna try to keep it. Be nice if I had some more. If there were some more tomes in the reserve, but anyway, nothing I can do for that. That was Monty. Jacqueline is clear. Preston's got to roll for his blessing. Okay, I gotta stop re-rolling these 1s when I don't want to see them. Preston loses his blessing, and Daisy's all clear. And after all that, we still have to spawn another gate. So we get City of the Elder Things. So basically, out in the middle of... Basically, a little further out in the middle of bumfrick nowhere. But let's see what monster we get with that one. We get another cultist. So I'll put that out there, and then the event. An article on the back page of the newspaper catches your attention. An unexplained attack on a remote outpost left no survivors. You read about 2 other similar attacks happening in the same region. You can see that the forgotten corners of the globe are growing more dangerous. Ancient Guardians event. Spawn 2 monsters on the active expedition space. Wonderful. What is that? We find a vampire, Joy. Straight will, 1 success to not lose sanity. Strength -2, 2 successes to not lose health. 3 toughness to kill it. If you lose health from the strength test and this monster is not defeated, it recovers 2 health. Wonderful. We also actually need a second monster, though, to go up there as well. So our second monster, oh boy, is a star vampire. Will -1, 3 successes to not lose sanity. Strength -2, 4 successes to not lose, or 2 successes to not lose health. 4 toughness to kill it. And when it's spawned, advance the omen by 1 unless investigators as a group spend 2 clues. We're just going to bite the bullet and advance the omen by 1 because we need clues. We only have the 1 blue gate on the board, so doom goes down to 9. Wonderful. So that brings us into the investigation phase. So, or the action phase, actually. So our first player will once again be Monty, so we'll move down to the heart of Africa. Since the expedition encounter is basically out in the middle of nowhere right now, we'll discard Tunguska as our expedition, move it to Arkham, which opens up my options a little bit, but not too much. Then I'll move Monty down to Zoe to finish his action. Then action 2, he'll get a focus. He'll plan on encountering Zoe and then probably moving over to the treasure map next turn. But anyway, that will do it for Monty. Our second player will be... Our second player will actually be Daisy, so we'll move over to Lake Camp. I moved the dice tower into shot. Daisy has enough clues to complete the mystery, assuming she's able to defeat the cultist. So I think she's going to try Arcane Insight. Test lore -2, so that's 6 dice. And does she choose the investigator first? Choose yourself or another investigator. So she's actually going to choose Jacqueline. So I can try to set up Jacqueline completing her personal story the next time somebody gains a condition. So the next time somebody gains a condition that she can look at the back of. There should have been 1 more die. There it is. So that's 2 successes, which means Jacqueline will gain a clue. There's the clue for Jacqueline. And then Arcane Insight. Daisy's copy flips with 2 successes, which I believe does sanity damage. Yes, loses 2 sanity unless they have a tome. But actually, we're fortunate here because Jacqueline has a tome. Right. So, okay, so we're all clear there. Then Daisy will just gain a focus because she's planning on finishing that mystery next turn, and somebody needs to gain a condition so Jacqueline can finish her personal story. Anyway, that will do it for Daisy. What is Preston going to do this round? Might as well just work on clearing the reserve. So 6 dice and we've got 2 resources. 6s still count as 2 successes. That looks like 4 successes. I can get up to 8 successes if I want to take a debt condition. I don't think I need to, though. I think I'll just spend 6. I'll spend both my resources to go up to 6. And then we'll take the police raid and the hitman. So the hitman will give Preston a weapon asset from the deck, and he gets to roll an additional die. So Preston will find... I'll just go through, grab the first weapon I find. Not the one I wanted to see, but oh well. Just giving this a quick shuffle and a cut. And we'll find, if it ever wants to focus, the carbine rifle. Once per round, you may gain +5 during a combat encounter. So Preston is very much tooled up for firepower right now, and for... We had 1 success to the... So I haven't been paying attention to that for Daisy at all. Preston will, for action 2, he'll take one of those resources back, because he really doesn't have much else to do. Anyway, that will do it for Preston. Let's move over. Oh, we need to replace the reserve first. So, first replacement asset. Ancient Manuscript for 3 successes. Trinket Relic Tome. Gain +1 lore and +1 will. Once per round, you may reroll 1 die when resolving a test. And... Ritual Candles for 1 success. You may discard this card to gain +5 lore when resolving a spell effect, or as an action, you may discard this card to gain 1 spell. Preston should have gained a sanity from that, and he is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like I said, I'm ruling that the allies count as unique assets. As for the police raid, we can hit a space for 3. Everything on it takes 3, and I think we'll hit Tunguska with it. So the Servitor of the Outer Gods is defeated, as is the Vampire, but the Star Vampire takes 3. I mostly wanted to get that space turning into a little bit less of a mess, but anyway. Now that will do it for them. Now let's move over to Jacqueline, who will move over to Buenos Aires. Since Monty isn't going to be able to get to Arkham this turn, Jacqueline will since Monty won't be able to get to Arkham for a couple of turns, we'll actually have Jacqueline go ahead and do the expedition encounter this round. So she'll get a ship ticket, which she'll immediately spend to move up to Arkham. So that'll do it for Jacqueline. That'll do it for the action phase. Encounter phase next, and let's drop down to Monty in Cape Town, South Africa. Monty will encounter Zoe, who is defeated by damage. Zoe's wounds have left her hospitalized and unable to walk. Grudgingly, she's left everything for you in a safety deposit box. Gain all of her possessions. So that gives Monty the 2 task assets. And Zoe's firepower, so the 38 revolver and the Holy Cross. But of course, there's more. When you return from the bank, the hospital is on fire. You try to find the courage to run in and rescue Zoe. Will. Oh joy, and Monty's will is only 2. This is not good. Two 1s. That's problematic. Which I think we'll just have to eat the fail on that one. Just resetting those. If you fail, the only remnant of her you find among the ashes is an old photo of her as a child with her parents. Whether you pass or not, discard her investigator token. So we didn't find the courage to run in and try to save Zoe. So instead, she left a burning portrait with her parents. Mildly depressing, but what are you going to do? Anyway, that's it for Monty. Now we need to move over to Lake Forest, where hopefully Lake Camp, where hopefully Daisy can finish our first mystery. Daisy's getting ambushed, and I should have rolled one additional die from the Arcane Assistant. Oh well, too late for that now. Alright, Daisy does pass. She gets the ally. We'll go from this deck. That was quick. We'll give that a cut. And this time the urban guide was brainwashed. If you're on a city space, investigators on your space roll one additional die when resolving tests except when resolving otherworld encounters. So what ally do we want? I think we will toss the Arcane Initiate, the Arcane Assistant, and spend a clue. Clue bag is right here. To put our fourth Eldritch token on the mystery, and we'll solve that at the end of the Mythos phase, assuming nothing else goes sideways. But anyway, Preston is having another encounter at Lake Camp. Someone has sabotaged the expedition. You search the pit where the drilling equipment was thrown. Observation -1. This should be a laugh. We'll get these out of the tower. That's a 1, and I'm just going to eat the fail on that one. I have a reason for that. If you fail, you fall to the bottom of the pit, lose 1 health, and gain a back injury condition. Alright, so bad conditions. Back injury. Give this a quick shuffle. Looks like I'm going to need to change my battery again here pretty soon, but that's the nature of these Eldritch playthroughs. They're usually very long. Back injury. When you perform a rest action, you may roll 1 die. On a 5 or 6 discard, reckoning tests strength. If you fail, flip. Before we give this to Preston, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is perfect. So before we give this to Preston, Jacqueline's going to take a look at it. Nerve damage. The numbness in your fingers is returned, making it nearly impossible to manipulate objects, and you clumsily drop a valuable item beyond recovery. Discard 1 item possession, then flip. Preston has a few items, so he's going to want to try to get rid of this if he can, but more importantly, that will be Jacqueline's 5th clue, and she'll spend them to gain the Oracle reward. Oracle. Once per round, when Doom advances, gain 1 clue. You may spend 3 clues to negate the text effect of an Event Mythos card. So we can keep looking at the cards, which means we no longer have to pay attention to Doom getting down to 6 or lower and failing our personal story. But we definitely need to get more clues on the board. But anyway, that will do it for Preston and Daisy. Jacqueline's waiting for us in Arkham. Jacqueline's having the expedition encounter in Arkham. You use the strange angles in the old house to travel to another dimension. A man waits for you there with a strange relic. Resolve the pass effect to negotiate with the man, or the fail effect to try to steal the artifact. Let's try to steal the artifact. Stealing the relic and escaping requires navigating the strange spaces between the world and your own. Observation. We got 3 dice for that. And we pass. If you pass, your theft succeeds. Gain 1 artifact. Nicely done, Jacqueline. We've got artifacts for days now. So what do we find here? We find Cursed Sphere. Gain +2 to all skills. On a Reckoning, roll 1 die. On a 1 or 2, gain a Cursed condition. That could be a problem. But hopefully it'll make her be able to fight a lot better. But anyway, that will do it for Jacqueline. That'll do it for the encounter phase. Let's move back up top for the Mythos phase. The one good thing I will say about that rumor going off when it did is it saved us 3 doom now, because we had a bunch of red gates on the board, and our next Omen movement is taking us to red. Speaking of which, so we advance to red. We have no red gates on the board, so the Monster Surge results in another gate spawn instead, which is Istanbul, and we need a monster to go with that. Oh boy. A Gug. Straight Will, need 2 successes to not lose sanity. Strength -2, 3 successes to not lose health, 4 toughness to kill it. And if you defeat this monster during a combat encounter, you don't resolve an additional encounter. Okay. Then we need clues. We need 2 out. There we are. Looks like Space 16 and the Heart of Africa. So the Heart of Africa and Space 16. The money you had been promised is gone. It had simply vanished like a morning mist. After investigating, you find that all the related bank records were forgeries and all of the names you were told were false identities. False bargain ongoing. When this card enters play, each investigator that has a funding condition discards that condition and gains a debt condition, except we don't have any funding conditions. On a Reckoning, each investigator resolves the Reckoning effect of each deal condition he has, treating all die rolls as 1, then discard. So basically we want to avoid getting deals if we can, but more importantly, we have solved our first mystery, so we need our second mystery out. Let's see what our second mystery is here. We find mysterious disappearances. People who have been reported missing all over the world, but more alarming are those who have returned, proclaiming the benevolence of the Elder Things and the potential for a grand alliance. As an encounter, an investigator on a city space containing a clue may attempt to investigate the eerie disappearances. He draws and resolves a mysterious disappearances special encounter. At the end of the Mythos phase, if there are clues equal to half the investigators, solve this rumor. So city spaces, let's take a look at what we've got. Well, Jacqueline is surrounded by a whole bunch of clues on there, so she may start going round the horn there and trying to work on that. Yeah. So the expedition encounter is in the Amazon right now. So that brings us into the investigation phase now. Yeah, I think we'll make Jacqueline our first player, and we'll go down to Arkham. With the clue right here in Arkham, Jacqueline is going absolutely nowhere. So I think she will take a focus and a train ticket. Nice uneventful turn for Jacqueline there. That will do it for her. Now let's move down to Monty. Monty will first discard the top card of the Expedition Encounter deck, moving it to an even more remote place. Then he'll take a ship ticket as part of his component action, and over to Buenos Aires he goes. Not an eventful turn there for him. Now I need to move over to Daisy and Preston to try to get them out of the Antarctic. So let's go down to them. Daisy and Preston are both going to do the exact same thing. I gave Daisy 3 and Preston 4. They'll both move over to Miskatonic Outpost for 1. Then as a local action, they'll each get a ship ticket, so I can, like I said, I want to get them out of the Antarctic at this point. Then as a local path, they'll move back down to Antarctica and move to the main board space for Antarctica. That'll do it for Daisy and Preston on a very quick action phase. Encounter phase next, and Jacqueline is once again waiting for us in Arkham. Alright, Mysterious Disappearances deck is right here for Jacqueline, so I'm going to give this a quick shuffle because I had to look at it to check if this was the right deck. And we'll discard it, and that will be Jacqueline's encounter. So she will find the police have captured a smuggler who reveals that a group of missing persons are being transported out of the city. You attempt to negotiate with the smuggler to learn where the victims are being taken. Influence. Delightful. Jacqueline's influence is terrible right now. It's rubbish at 2. Actually, no, I take that back. She's got the Cursed Sphere. I forgot all about that. So she's actually got a 3 right now. -1 is 2. Derp. Good thing I remembered that, otherwise I probably would have been in major trouble. You follow the smuggler's instructions and arrive at a warehouse protected by a magic barrier. Lore. Jacqueline is much better at lore. So base 4 plus 2 for the Cursed Sphere is 6 dice. Jacqueline, nothing cute, please. Jacqueline, what part of nothing cute do we not get? Damn it. If you fail, the magic is too powerful. Lose 1 sanity. Joy, joy. So Jacqueline loses a sanity. Well, actually, this might work out if I can. Actually, this might work. I think I can fit this together. So anyway, that will do it for Jacqueline. Let's move down to Monty, who's in Buenos Aires. Monty's going to have a location encounter in Buenos Aires. Is that what he needs to flip this? Yes, location or expedition. You visit La Peña in the basement of Cafe Tortoni and find the artist there offers small gifts in exchange for your inspirational stories. Gain 1 trinket asset of your choice from the reserve or a trinket asset at random from the deck. Okay, actually, I think I'm going to take the Ancient Manuscript, which gives me +1 lore and +1 will, and once per round I may reroll a die when resolving a test. That'll go over to Monty. Daisy's not very happy about that, but it's a very powerful asset no matter who gets it. So anyway, replacing that in the reserve. His occultist's journal for 3 successes. Item, Tome Magical. Gain +2 will and +2 strength during combat encounters. I think Daisy is a little less likely to gripe now. But that will do it for Monty. I bet if I've moved the camera, yep, I could have gotten Daisy and Preston in shot as well. So anyway, both Daisy and Preston are having generic sea encounters in Antarctica. So they find... Oh, before we do that, Monty does get to flip his treasure map with the clue on Buenos Aires. Oh my. After following the map's instructions, you have found yourself not on Earth, but in Earth's dreamlands. You stand now before the speaker for the Elder God Nodens. The Elder God has chosen you to help his fight against help your cause and fight against the Ancient One. Advance the active mystery by 1, then discard this card. Jacqueline, if we would have passed that test, we would be done with this mystery right now. But alas, no dice there. So anyway, Daisy's up first with a generic sea encounter. A sudden storm descends upon you and strong winds whip around your vessel. Huge waves toss your ship around like a toy, and you are thrown to the deck repeatedly. Lose 1 sanity and gain a back injury condition. Delightful. So Daisy will lose 1 sanity and she'll pick up a back injury. I think she had one earlier. Jacqueline will go ahead and take a look at this one. The spasms in your back pour through you like a wave of agony, and you collapse to the ground. Again and again, these tremors shake your body. You fear you will never be able to overcome your impairment. Impair observation, strength, and will. If only for the will impairment, Daisy needs to get rid of this. So Jacqueline will get a clue for looking at that. And then Preston will get his sea encounter. You learn that a gangster plans to kill a passenger over a debt. You confront the crook. Strength. His strength is 3. Does he get any boosts from that? That's during combat encounters. He's on the Antarctica sideboard, which the Antarctica space is a board on here. I can read there's a space on the board. So, yeah, we'll rule that it's part of the sideboard. So he gets to reroll 1 die when resolving a test, when resolving this test. That'll pass, so never mind the reroll needed. If you pass, the passenger becomes a loyal friend. Gain 1 random ally asset from the deck. Nice. Let's see what Preston finds. We'll take from this deck, I think. Let's see, looking for an ally. Okay. Okay, so we'll deal with that. Arcanist. When you gain this card from the deck or reserve, gain 2 spells, then discard 1 of them. Roll 1 additional die when resolving a lore test as part of a spell effect. So Preston has 2 spells to choose from. I'm going to keep in mind that I'm planning on passing that along with whatever spell I gain, assuming I can keep it, off to Daisy. So first up, we have Mists of Relay and Plumb the Void. I think I know which spell of... If those 2 are the spells I think they are, I know which one I'm keeping. Mists of Relay, I believe, is an incantation. I'm going to do these shuffles off camera. We'll take a look at these two, but I know which spell I'm keeping. So, Mists of Relay. During the encounter phase, you may test lore. If you pass, you may choose an encounter as if there are no monsters on your space, then flip. Or, as an action, test lore -1. If you pass, an investigator of your choice may move to any space, then flip. I'm keeping Plumb the Void. Actually, that goes to Preston right now, but that will be going to Daisy probably next turn. I don't think I'm going to waste any time getting that over to somebody who can actually use it. But before that, we do need to move back up top for the Mythos phase. Per usual, we'll leave the dice tower in shot just in case we need it, but let's see what the Deck of Doom gives us. Oh boy. Okay, so we shift the Omen to... So we advance the Omen by 1, and we do have a blue gate on the board, so we advance Doom by 1. Then... we have a Monster Surge. So 2 monsters at that gate. We find a Cultist and a Leopard Man. So the Cultist goes to London. The Leopard Man is not likely to, though. Straight Will, need 1 success to not lose Sanity. Straight Strength, 2 successes to not lose Health. 2 Toughness to kill it. When this monster's spawned, move it to the Heart of Africa, then put a Heart of Africa Expedition encounter on top. So there's our Heart of Africa card. Okay. All clear here. And clues. I'll move the expedition encounter in a second. London and Space 19. London, Space 19 all the way up here. Okay. You cannot believe that this gibbering lunatic was once the smiling, lucid lawyer you spoke to this morning. Collapsed. His trembling hands indicated empty air. The world collided and the door collapsed. He abruptly pulls himself off the floor and looks out the small window of his cell. But so too will they pull. They will rip and tear, and a new door will open elsewhere. Dimensional instability, event. Discard each gate that corresponds to the current omen, and advance Doom by 1 per gate discarded. So the current omen is blue, so we discard London and advance Doom by 1. I'll tell you what, if Doom hits 0, which it's looking increasingly likely it's going to, I'm probably going to just tap out here and call it a game, but getting a little ahead of myself there, that's on top of the deck. Into the action phase next. Jacqueline is staying put. So yeah, I think we'll just go up to Jacqueline as the first player once again. Focus and rest for Jacqueline. That was easy. Now let's move down to Antarctica for Daisy and Preston. Right, I need Preston to go before Daisy, so for action 1, Preston's going to trade everything over everything spell-related. So that'll be the Arcanist, Plumb the Void, and Forced Learning. And then for action 2, Preston's actually going to move over to... Actually, Preston's going to give her a weapon as well. He's going to give her the 45 automatic. And then Preston's going to move over to Sydney. Then Daisy's actually going to spend her ship ticket to move over to Buenos Aires. And then we're going to bring the Dice Tower in shot. So she can try to plumb the void and send Monty... Any investigator of your choice may move to any space. So 4... What's that? That's -1. So 4... That's an additional die. 5, 6, 7, 8. -1 is 7, and I can add 1 success to a... So I can add 1 success, thanks to Professor Armitage. So 7 dice. If I think I need to, so let's find out. Let's see, we get 3 successes in there, so Monty moves to the heart of... Monty will move to the heart of Africa. And then we'll flip Plumb the Void. Here we are. More than just warping space, you also manipulate time. You may perform an additional action. Whoa! Okay, so Daisy actually gets an additional action now, which she will... She will actually, I think, rest. Because I wanted to try to get rid of the back injury anyway. So how I'm going to do this... I'm actually going to roll for the old journal as well. What all do I need to roll for when I rest? She'll gain the sanity for that. So roll a die for that. Test observation. I think that's it when she rests. Alright, so we'll roll... That's on a 5 or 6. So we'll roll a black die for the... We'll roll one of the black dice for the back injury and the green die for the old journal. Actually, just to help me remember, I'll put them over the respective cards. Nothing happens on either one of them, so never mind. Right, so that is it for Daisy. Monty, we need to move up to the heart of Africa for. Focus and a resource for Monty. That was easy. That's it for the action phase. Encounter phase now, and Jacqueline, let's have a little less of the faily things on that mysterious disappearances encounter, shall we? This should be it. Yep, mysterious disappearances. Oh, this is a laugh. Your investigation into human trafficking has led you to the administration building. You stake out the building all night trying to catch the perpetrator in the act. Observation. Okay, this is pretty good. So, 5 dice. I'll remember that I've got the cursed sphere this time. Actually, do I have more than that? I actually have 7 observation because I have the Book of the Dead. Actually, I probably don't. No, I don't think I do. I don't think... Those effects usually don't stack. So no, 5 dice. Still. That'll work. Your vigilance pays off, and you discover the mayor being controlled by alien magic. Lore. Alright, so 4, 6. This is where we failed last time, Jacqueline. How about no repeat? Should have been one more die in there, but we don't get any repeat, so that'll do. If you pass, you break the gas and listen to what he has to say. Place this clue on the active mystery. So we will complete the mystery on the next Mythos phase, assuming nothing else goes sideways. But anyway, that will do it for Jacqueline. Let's move down to Preston in Sydney. Surprisingly, we haven't done much with Asia this game. This is actually our first encounter over here in Asia. In a game of cards, the stakes are raised and you bet a prized possession. You watch the other players carefully for any tells. Observation -1. Oh, this is bad. Take the 6. This observation right now is 1. A 5. Never mind. Preston is apparently good at cards. If you pass, you call a bluff. Gain 1 random weapon asset from the deck. Nicely done, Preston. We'll go from here. And we're looking for a weapon. Jeez, we're getting all the crappy ones out of here. I know there are some really good weapons still in this deck. I just haven't found any of them. Anyway, we'll cut that. And the weapon we found was the Winchester rifle. Once per round, you may gain +4 strength during a combat encounter. To go with the +5 we can gain from the carbine rifle. But anyway, that is it for Preston. Now let's move over to Daisy in Buenos Aires. Daisy is in Buenos Aires, is she? You receive brief access to the Necronomicon. Gain one non-incantation spell. Alright, so Conjuration is definitely a ritual. Alright. Conjuration is a spell. Action, test lore +1. If you pass, you may gain 1 item or trinket asset from the reserve with value equal to or less than your test result, then flip. Okay, but of course, say it with me, kids, there's more. Which doesn't seem to want to focus. Here we go. In return, the library would like a donation. Lorma, or influence -1. Her influence is pretty rubbish here at 1. And she's got no boost for this. Oh, she does have a boost, actually. She does have the Urban Guide, because she's in Buenos Aires. The Urban Guide saves Daisy once again. If you pass, you receive a gift. Gain 1 random trinket asset from the deck. Fantastic. I wish I could gain that, but that's an artifact, so that won't count. Trinket. Trinket. Not great, but might be useful. Might be useful to Preston, potentially, but we'll see why in a second. All right, so we have fine jewelry for 1 success. You may add 1 to the result of 1 die when performing an influence test during acquire assets. Alright, so all we need to get Daisy now is an attack spell, and she's golden. But anyway, let's move over to Monty, who's going to have a fight in the heart of Africa. First things first, Monty's got to fight the Leopard Man. Straight will. He is at 2 plus 1 is, or plus 2 from the Holy Cross is 4. He gets the highest of those, but he does have a reroll. We can eat a 1 sanity loss, though. Fortunately, that is not a concern because we got 2 successes. Straight strength, 4 plus 2 is 6, and we do have a reroll available from the Bullwhip plus 2 foci. So 4, 5, 6. That's during a combat encounter, right? Yes, okay. Three successes, so it's defeated. It had a toughness of 2. So that'll go on Purifying the World. And that is 3, 7 toughness. I think we'll flip Purifying the World. With each beast you slay, you can feel the Ancient One's power weakening. For each monster on this card, resolve 1 effect of your choice based on its toughness. So what did we have on here? I think we had 2 2s and a 3. Ooh. So 2 2s and a 3. For each monster on this card, resolve 1 effect of your choice based on its toughness. So 2 2s will let me improve 2 skills. The 3 plus will let me discard a monster of my choice on any space. I think I'll get rid of the Gug for the 3. Because it just says discard a monster. And then 2 skill improvements, and that's a discard. Okay. And then for 2 skill improvements, I think I want to improve... let's improve strength and... lore. So strength and lore going to Monty, which will bring him up to a 5 strength and a 3 lore. And then we'll have the expedition encounter on the heart of Africa. Those monsters, I'll put those monsters back in the bag in a second. The heart of Africa. In a part of the jungle avoided by all of the local tribes, you find a stone covered with strange dot patterns. You attempt to identify the origin of the shard and interpret the meaning of the patterns. Lore -1. So let me put these back in monster bag before I forget. So lore -1 gives me, I believe that's a 3 plus 1 is 4 minus 1 is 3. Okay? Alright, there's a success. You identify it as a missing piece of the Kaharna fragments that leads you to a long forgotten cave. Inside, you search through the ruins of an abandoned lair of elder things. Observation -1. So 3... Now -1 is 2, but we do have a reroll. We have plenty of rerolls available. None of which we need. If you pass, you find a lost treasure. Gain 1 artifact. So we'll get the artifact. I also need a relic unique asset. Relic unique asset, that won't work. I'm doing this part off camera. Relic, here we go. Okay, didn't I just have a... Yeah, I did. I thought so. Okay, so I need an Eldritch token as well. And this is moving to Antarctica. So the Eldritch token is for Monty's personal story. But anyway, the relic unique asset that he gets as part of his special ability is a stone chest. When you perform a rest action, you may attempt to pry open the chest, strength. If you pass, flip. And for his artifact, the silver key. Once per round, you may spend one less clue to pay for an effect. You may reroll one die when resolving a test during an otherworld encounter. Gates aren't... Well, I say that as I'm looking at 3 green gates on the board. But anyway, speaking of gates, Monty was our 4th investigator, so that's it for the action, for the encounter phase. We gotta move back up top. Oh yes, for the Mythos phase. We'll leave the dice tower unshot in case we need it, but we find... Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, so we advance Doom by 1. Doom advances by 3, so 1, 2, 3, we're down to 4. Monster Surge on every one of them. Oh, this is going to be a problem. Delightful. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we need one more. 6. Okay. So we'll take these 2 monsters going to San Francisco. We have a werewolf which we defeated earlier. We'll just flip that over for a quick recall on that. And then a Dark Young with a Reckoning, of course. Will -1, need 3 successes to not lose sanity. Strength -3, 3 successes to not lose health. 5 toughness, and on a Reckoning roll 1 die. On a 1 or 2, advance Doom by 1. This is going to be a big problem. We'll take these 2. Another Star Vampire, so we'll actually advance the Omen again. These 2 are going to Istanbul, by the way. We'll advance the Omen again, and a Ghoul. Will +1, need 1 success to not lose sanity. Straight strength, 2 success to not lose health. 1 toughness to kill it. And if you lose health from the strength test, gain a paranoia condition. Along with the aforementioned Star Vampire. And then the last 2 are going to Tunguska, which is turning that space into another ungodly mess. Young Chthonian, which has spawn instructions. Will -1, 2 successes to not lose sanity. Strength -1, 2 successes to not lose health, 3 toughness to kill it, and when this monster is spawned, each investigator on this or an adjacent space loses 1 and 1, which thankfully is nobody. And the Hunting Horror. Looks like it's got a Reckoning. Will -1, 3 successes to not lose sanity, strength, 2 successes to not lose health, 3 toughness to kill it, and on a Reckoning, move this monster to the nearest space containing an investigator. Then an investigator on that space immediately encounters it. Right now, as we move the tower out of the way, that will probably be Monty. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. It will either be Monty or Preston. If we have 2 equidistant investigators, we're allowed to choose. Then clues. So 2 clues going out. Oh, we need one more. Okay, so those are our 2 clues going out. Sydney and Space 10. So one goes right on top of Preston. Another one that either Jacqueline or Daisy could get to pretty easily, but I'm not sure if we need to yet. We do need to deal with this card, though. Let's see if I can zoom in, make this maybe a little easier to read. In one night, the whole monstrous undertaking has disappeared. Every occult sigil has been sanded from the wall and painted over. Every name on your list has moved to a new city without notice. You would like to believe that you managed to drive them out, but you fear that it signifies something else. The dark gate goal they'd been pursuing is now accomplished. That which consumes, event. Investigators, as a group, choose one gate on the game board and discard it. If the discarded gate does not correspond to the current omen, advance doom by 1. Oh, yikes. So yeah, we got all three green gates right now, so we're advancing doom by 1 no matter which one we choose. They're also, the only one that's remotely accessible to us right now is up here in Arkham, and after the last time I sent Jacqueline into a mess, I don't trust her trying to kill that. So, I think we have to. I think we have to discard San Francisco. So I already advanced doom by 1. This is looking like another one of those games where if the Ancient One wakes up, we're tapping out. But we do have our second mystery solved, so we need a third mystery out. An expedition compromised. Some members of the expedition crew had gone missing and have been acting strangely since their return. Geological and alien samples are disappearing or being destroyed in the night. When this card enters play, place a mystery token on Lake Camp and City of the Elder Things. I never pulled the mystery from Lake Camp earlier, but after an investigator resolves a location encounter on Lake Camp or City of the Elder Things, he may spend 1 clue to confront the agent of the Elder Things. If he spends the clue, a cultist monster ambushes him. If he defeats it, place 1 Eldritch token on this card. At the end of the Mythos phase, if there are Eldritch tokens on this card equal to the number of investigators, solve this mystery. So we need to get back to the Antarctica sideboard pronto. Is that going to mean I just start taking debt conditions like crazy? We need another mystery token for City of the Elder Things. We got a cultist there, though, that we need to deal with. Let's see, Preston. Well, Preston can definitely get back to the Antarctica sideboard without too much effort. Daisy will need a ship ticket to do the same. We might have to plumb the void and get Monty. I really want to clear his personal story, but Jacqueline is basically out in the middle of nowhere, and actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 clues, and that's plus 6, right? So we need he's going to fail his personal story if he doesn't complete it. He's going to fail his personal story if he doesn't complete it this turn. So I think I've got to wait a turn to get Daisy down there. She'll have to be our first player as we drop down to Buenos Aires. Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight from the future here. We'll actually jump down to Buenos Aires in a minute, but this video is starting to get to that 3-hour point where I try to cut it off. So we're going to end part 1 here. There will be a part 2 of Eldritch Horror, which is still coming. I've got to put it together, but that'll be next on the project. Anyway, as far as the next videos are concerned, after part 2, Wednesday we'll be playing On to Moscow, starting into my Tack Up Wargaming list, and next week we'll play Dune Imperium with the Rise of Ix expansion. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.